Let's jump straight into the business of mobile money. Safaricom is marking 10 years since M-pesa's launch, which according to a recent survey on customers it has by far is still the biggest mobile money system, at least in Kenya. Now, the number of monthly active users on that platform was measured on a 30-day active basis is about 18 million. And globally, M-pesa is around the world. Vodafone has deployed it to 9 other countries. That includes Albania, the DRC, Egypt, Ghana, India, Lesotho, Mozambique, Romania and Tanzania. Last year, this service processed about 6 billion transactions. In fact, that peaked in December at about 529 transactions pretty much every second. All right then, so then M-pesa is turning 10 this year. Let's figure out where exactly it's going over the next decade, shall we? Ron Webb is the Director of Financial Services in Safaricom. He joins me in the studio right now. Thank you for your time.
Good evening.
Let's start perhaps with the obvious question. Why doesn't M-pesa have an app yet? It's still a USSD service. Why isn't it an app?
Okay, well, firstly, we're a SIM toolkit service. The application runs in the SIM card, and that was a critical factor for our success because it meant that M-pesa could work on any handset. And even as we sit here tonight, 70% of our customers have feature phones, not smartphones. But you're going to be very happy. There's an app just around the corner, and we're almost ready to release it. It's in staff pilot.
Yeah.
We've worked very hard on the security on that to make sure that it is as secure as what our customers have been used to. And it's shortly going to be released.
How shortly short? A month, 2 months?
Within the next quarter, shall we say.
Okay, so, there's some interesting numbers you're raising there. 70% of people still work on feature phones.
Correct.
And every single person we talk to on the mobile end, especially on the handset side of the business, consistently plays up the fact that smartphone prices have more or less crashed over the last 10 years. I mean, eventually, though, when are we going to see that inflection point where you're going to have a lot more of your customers on smartphones as opposed to being on feature phones?
Yeah, I think there are a number of elements that come into that. You've touched on one, which is the capital cost of the handset. And happily, that's reduced. And there's now very affordable Android-type devices for under $30. But that's only one of the factors that is problematic for customers in using a smartphone. The second factor is the data budget that you need to maintain the operating system on a phone like that. And the third is the power budget. You know, only 23% of Kenyans are on the electricity grid. The balance have to charge their phones in kiosks, or perhaps they're fortunate enough, like our nearly 500,000 M-Copa customers, to have solar power to be able to charge the phone at home. And you can charge a feature phone once a week. You know, a smartphone you have to charge twice a day.
If you're lucky.
And it's growing, however.
Yeah.
And there's no question that a smartphone remains a big part of our future. But where we have to be very careful, it would be far too easy to focus on functionality for the smartphone and leave behind all of our majority of feature phone users beyond the digital divide.
Well, and I guess we're digging a little deeper here, but when you're limited to that USSD platform, doesn't that limit your ability to add features to the service to some extent? Because, I mean, M-pesa as a service right now started as a peer-to-peer cash transfer service. And then on top of that, you added a payment service, Lipa na M-pesa.
Correct.
But beyond that?
Well, if you look at the various services we have done, I think it's a full credit to the engineering team that we have and the innovations we've been able to do on that. What you're clearly pointing out is a limiting service. But again, it's a completely democratic service. Everyone has access to it. So access to savings has been possible through it. Access to credit has been possible. Payments, as you've mentioned, have been possible. A wide variety of services. But it just doesn't have that jazzy user interface that the smartphone has.
Definitely. One last question for you. M-pesa, no doubt, big products, very successful, but that sort of a success does attract quite a bit of attention. Legislators are clamoring to split up Safaricom, so you have the unit you run, financial services, as a separate company away from telco and data. The communication regulator is also looking at a similar proposal as well. From where you sit, do you have a contingency plan in case legislators do turn out and say, this is what has to happen, you've got to break up the company? Do you have a contingency plan for that?
Obviously, Safaricom does contingency planning in a number of areas, but on this particular area, until we get proper clarity from government and from the regulators as to which way this is going to go. What would separation mean? Is that a full physical separation? Is it an accounting separation? It's very difficult for us. And we continue to work closely with the regulator and government to continue the work of transforming lives that we have been very proud of. And we firmly believe that in order to continue with the financial inclusion success that we've had, transforming the lives of millions of Kenyans needs a regulatory environment that promotes competitive investment, innovation, in the spirit of a free and open market.
Right, we'll leave it there for the time being. Ron Webb, Director of Financial Services, thank you.
Thank you very much.